This is your Barbados Today Evening News Update for Wednesday, February 20th. So glad you can join us. I'm Frenella Wedderburn. Police are continuing investigations into a stabbing incident which occurred in the city this afternoon. 27-year-old Kadeem Cadell of Proud St. Thomas suffered several wounds about the body and was rushed to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital for treatment by private vehicle. Police said Cadell was engaged in an altercation with another man, resulting in the incident. The Ministry of Transport today began replacing street lights on the highway stretching from the Grantley Adams International Airport to the University of the West Indies. Transport Minister William Duguid, who addressed the matter this morning while at the junction of the Dighton Griffith Secondary School, stressed the lighting situation has to be urgently addressed.
You would recognize that over the years, motorists would have hit the various lamp poles on the highway and would have knocked them off. Or also you would have seen that some of the lamp posts, the lights were out for a long time and the highway had become quite dark. So immediately upon becoming the minister, first thing I did is I went and counted how many poles were either down or lamps were out, just from the airport to the Garfield Sobers roundabout. And I found that there were 55 poles that were out, either out in terms of the lamp or some of the poles that were down. So immediately what we started to do is a process of first repositioning the bases for those poles so that we can get those poles back up, and also the procurement of the lights. And we're using LED lights, of course, for reduced energy to be able to get a more energy efficient light in place. So we procured about 200 lights, which would say us being able to light the highway from the Garfield, so from the airport all the way up to all the way down to the university, bottom of University Hill, that roundabout.
In other news, assurances today that the United Kingdom government will maintain its current trading and economic arrangements with Barbados and other Commonwealth states. Philip Parham, who was en route to St. Lucia, told a press conference held at the British High Commission today that the UK's departure from the European Union will not affect its commitment to the 53-nation grouping.
We are in the process of rolling over, as it were, agreements which currently exist between the European Union and other countries, including Commonwealth countries, so that the same terms will apply between the UK and those countries once we leave the European Union. So our first aim is to try to ensure that there is no detriment and that we remain on the same footing, and then of course we will be wanting to develop the best and most productive possible trade relations once we're outside the European Union.
The UK envoy also gave assurances that the British government is actively tackling the problems facing the Windrush generation. Last year, West Indians who travelled to London between 1949 and the 1960s to help rebuild the country after the Second World War were being deported. Parham said the Home Office has already worked with 6,000 of those displaced to regularize their status as British citizens.
The British government has made it a priority to right the wrongs that were suffered by members of the Windrush generation, and I think I'm right in saying that the British authorities, the Home Office, have so far specifically assisted over 2,400 people with the necessary paperwork to address their situation, and I think I'm also right in saying that over 3,400 people have now completed the necessary processes to confirm their British citizenship. And the Home Office will be announcing shortly, I think, the compensation scheme for those who have suffered loss as a result of the issue.
There were grand celebrations at the Crab Hill St. Lucie home of Gillian Leska Carrington today. He is the island's newest centenarian. Family and friends feted Carrington, who received the customary visit from Governor General Dame Sandra Mason. The happy centenarian told Barbados Today he was pleased to reach the milestone, and he shared at least 3 principles which he has lived by.
I was saying, people like the authors, threaten at everything, you know, and the good book there. That is very solution. I said, stop worrying. Mind your own business. Everything that you do, I see, you don't have to make a comment, you know. Always listen before you reply. You see somebody coming down the road and I hear her or whatever, and you ask, what he doing or what she doing? Nothing but it's online. You reminder, God love everybody. He said rain on the just and the unjust. He didn't hate nobody, you know.
In sports, a disappointing end to a brilliant display from the West Indies in the first one-day international at Kensington Oval today, after the Windies amassed 364-8, comprising of 23 sixes, a world record for the most sixes by any team in an ODI innings. They practically handed the game to England, who amassed 364 for 4 to win the match by 6 wickets.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
On the regional scene in Trinidad and Tobago, gangs have infiltrated the society in ways beyond the violence you hear about on the streets. How did they manage to do this? Aisha Javid of TV6 News tells us more.
In Trinidad and Tobago, there's an invisible thread which connects the formal and the underground economy. But it turns out that both sectors actually feed into each other. But how does a gang business fit into this? Well, it turns out that gangs know all the vulnerabilities of the formal economy. If you think about it, quite simply, gangs need cash to conduct their business. According to a 2018 gang report compiled by the Organized Crime and Intelligence Unit, gangs traffic cocaine, marijuana and heroin, as well as illegal firearms. What do all of these have in common? To acquire any of these products, you need cash. When you sell those products, you earn cash. At the moment, the most lucrative business in the illegal drug business is marijuana, or weed as it's commonly called. Right now, in Trinidad and Tobago, 1 kilo of Kush sells for $8,000. 1.2 grams retails for $25. So what accounts for the 25% increase in price? Demand. One intelligence officer said that there is always a spike in the price of weed around carnival time because of the parties. When it comes to weed sales, there is one block in Port of Spain which turns over $100,000 per day. TV6 News was told that for cocaine, the margin is higher. You can acquire a kilo of cocaine for $25,000, but its street value is about $400,000. But what happens to the cash received? But here's how the money moves around. TV6 News was told that a large amount of cash usually goes into the banks. There are over 200 gangs and 2,500 gang members. Most of them have bank accounts, and intelligence officers said that there is one bank and its subsidiaries in the east, which is a bank of choice for drug dealers. TV6 News also understands that there are tellers who are complicit in the cash deposits.
Further afield, U.S. President Donald Trump today directed Secretary of State Mike Pompeo not to allow Hoda Muthana, an Alabama woman who left in November 2014 to join ISIS, to return to the United States, despite her recent public plea to come back and stand trial in America. Muthana, now 24, was a college student when she traveled to Syria over 4 years ago to join ISIS. In an interview series of this week from a sprawling camp in northern Syria with her infant son, she expressed deep remorse. More in this report from CNN.
She made a bold and, she now says, foolish decision to leave her home in, of all places, Alabama to join ISIS overseas. And tonight, this 24-year-old American woman is speaking out in new interviews about her life with the terrorist group. Hoda Muthana told ABC News she was radicalized online in the U.S., then made her way to Syria through Turkey 4 years ago. But she tells the Guardian newspaper that reality hit her when she arrived in Syria.
I don't know, I thought I was doing things correctly for the sake of God. And when I came here and I saw everything with my own eyes, I realized that I made a big mistake.
And that's news. But for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook. And sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izuni Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Good evening.